Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in. This is Joe Caccera with the Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. I am sitting alongside Buddy and Bobby. It is a Friday, and we are going to be discussing today our series of Living Longer, Living Better. And it is going to be fall proofing. That's right, the fall, F-A-L-L, not fall as in the season is changing. Fall proofing. It's going to be a great program. It's the series that we continue to bring to you, the consumer. And before we do that, real quickly, if you have any real estate needs, buying, selling, you need someone to help you just consult, figure out when is a good time to do anything with real estate, be sure to contact Bobby Decker at area code 650-346-5352, or you could always go to our website, bobbydecker.com. That's B-O-B-B-I, Decker.com. If you need any financing in the way of purchase, refinance, you could always call me for that assistance, 408-838-9060, or you could go to reradiolive.com. Well, welcome again to our Friday edition of Living Longer, Living Better. We're going to talk today about fall proofing your home. Bobby, you want to take it from here?
Well, one of the biggest issue, if not the biggest, most critical issue for seniors is that they fall. And Joe, you never know when it's going to happen, and there was a lot of studies done. I'm sure Lisa, our guest, is going to elaborate on that. But do you lose consciousness and fall, or do you fall and lose consciousness? Whatever it is, the end result is probably a broken hip or broken something. And that happened to my mom, and that's when we had to find her assisted living facility. And that changes their life so dramatically.
It does.
And it concluded, there was a study done in the British Medical Journal that said 80% of women who survived said they'd rather be dead than in a nursing home because of falling and breaking a hip. Isn't that awful?
That's sad.
Because that makes them sad.
Right.
And the statistics show that only half the people who have a hip fracture are able to independently walk again after a bad fracture. I mean, there's all that assisted, either a cane or whatever, you know. And so, Buddy, you're the one that found the fabulous source of how to do things and risk this fall scenario.
Absolutely. In fact, you know, we've done some work in and around this subject in the past, but what I found this time was the most comprehensive list of issues around the home and making the home a safe place for seniors, and we can go way beyond seniors. We've done home about children's safety as well, but today we're going to focus on seniors, and I have to introduce Lisa Brinkmann. She's the executive director of Marin Villages, and she put together this home assessment checklist that we're going to want everybody to get a hold of her, because we're not going to have time to get into all the details of it. Lisa, welcome. You have put together an extraordinary list. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so the list, as I mentioned, is very, very long. So we're going to kind of have to cut it a little short because of the length of the show. But Lisa, before we really get into some of the aspects of the report itself, what prompted you to do this? What's the why of this report?
Well, Bobby had mentioned it already. Most of the research says that one of the leading causes of injury for people over 65 is a fall. And if you fall and fracture your hip, you probably have a 40% chance of ever going home and living independently again. Bobby, I think, said 60% chance of being able to walk on your own. But living independently is really something that most people want to be able to live in their own homes. And if you fall, you've just reduced your chances considerably. They say that 6 in 10 falls actually happen around the home. Wow. So I was fortunate enough to get a degree at the USC School of Gerontology, and they have a Center for Fall Prevention. So while I was there, I did a lot of research on that and thought I'd like to put together a checklist that either an older person or their kids or somebody without a lot of experience could just self-assess and go around their house themselves and just ask themselves some questions to find out, how safe is their home from fall.
Yeah, that's a great point. And this is really important. All of us hear these stories on a regular basis. So let's take a look at the leading headings on that list if we could, Lisa. And we know about the stairs, often the culprit, but maybe we could break it down. Let's break it down further in terms of where these happen to take place on a regular basis.
Well, if you look around your house, it's your interior doors, the stairs, the hallways, the kitchen, laundry, looking around your telephone, reaching for things, storage places, clutter with electric and cords and cables. Things that you might have around the house that are going to trip you, basically, or have you slip.
Right.
And there are certain things that you can do environmentally in your home to help mitigate some of those risks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that Buddy said that the list is so extensive, and we are going to have our listeners get in touch with you or somehow be able to access that list because you did such a comprehensive one. But can you, take the top 3 issues that you would say, if I had to sit down with someone and give them a real synopsis real quick?
Well, what was mentioned first was stairs. Obviously, going up and down stairs is always a risk. Having adequate railings and support in those areas and lighting is important. Also, the falling outside, so things that you don't really pay attention to, but curbs, uneven pavement, and then scatter rugs in your house. You might have a lot of different rugs around the house that can slip, or your shoe might catch. When you get older, you may not be lifting your feet as high as you think you are, and you just catch that toe on the edge of a rug, and you can find yourself falling pretty quickly.
Lisa, I'm glad you mentioned that. I just last night, the last couple of days, of course, we're getting all this rain, and I can't imagine. I must have almost slipped myself a half a dozen times walking out to my backyard because I have this Spanish tile, which looks great, but it's slick when it gets wet.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how easy it would be for anybody. I don't care what age you are, and we're talking about the elderly and how much more critical it is when you do slip and fall. So it is amazing as you go through just a handful of these, how many different places in your home and around your home that it's really easy to slip and fall.
Yeah, Lisa's list was 10 headings long, and under each heading, she's got 4 or 5 details that relate to that. Bobby was talking in one of our earlier shows about Mike falling off a little step ladder.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a step ladder, but I missed the step coming down.
Yep.
Ladder flew out from under me, landed on my back, although I did break up her plants on the fall, which helped me.
Lisa did not hear that program. Yes, he smushed the perfect poinsettia plant.
So Lisa, she was worried about the plant. It was okay if I was having to be
I was
to the
irritated
hospital.
that he didn't wait until I got home to be there. Don't you believe that, like in gymnastics, Lisa, I'm going to call a girl side. This is a girl card.
Okay.
That, like gymnastics, you don't get on your balance beam alone.
Absolutely. And when you're in your own home, there's a level of comfort that you don't necessarily realize that you have, where things that other people might notice, you're just so used to seeing or working or walking on that it doesn't even occur to you that might even be a risk.
It's so true. So true. Honey buns become a risk. This is a tiny little Maltese.
Little dog, yeah.
And she loves to dart and play, and she'll get right in front of my feet. Now, if I wasn't aware of that, Joe, and able to, kind of get around it, a little pet could easily trip up. Look what happened to that client who moved into a new complex. Lisa, he had to move between selling a house and buying a house. It was the most unfortunate situation, but he had a Labradoodle, and they can be skittish. And it was very nervous, and it wrapped itself around his legs, and down he went down the stairs.
Down a set of stairs. That really changed his life situation. And Lisa, I bet you I figured out one other one you may want to add to the list that's very new. The only thing I didn't find on your list, in fact, and that's texting.
Wow.
We had a friend of ours who was in Europe, in fact, in London. She was texting, trying to catch up with a friend of hers that she was going to meet around the corner, and she was on one of those cobblestone streets, and she went down on her elbow and smashed it to smithereens.
Shattered it.
Oh, boy.
And so, I mean, texting is now a new issue that people have to start to think about as something to be careful of, because we get as unconscious as we get driving trying to text, walking trying to text. All those things become potential catastrophic problems.
Well, and it's even like if you're sitting at the table with your reading glasses on, standing up and going somewhere else with those glasses on could also just affect your vision and also to some extent your balance. So texting is kind of like walking around with the wrong pair of glasses at times.
Yeah. And we laugh and think it's funny, but she had several operations, and her arm was out of commission. Still is not perfect. Has to go to there. But when you shatter your elbow, that's a rather dramatic injury.
Yeah, she had to make a critical decision. If she was going to have the work done in London to create the first repair, she would have to have stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks because they didn't want her to fly. I guess probably because of blood clots.
Right.
Okay. So she had to wait till she came home. Then get the work done. I mean, it was a long, drawn-out scenario.
Yeah. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. Today we have a great podcast for you. Lisa Brinkmann has joined us. She's the Executive Director with the Marin Villages. We're talking about, in our series of Living Longer, Living Better, fall proofing. That's right. There's so many different ways you could fall around your home. And we're talking about senior citizens, how they're affected by these falls, and how really tragic they could be. So we will be back in just a minute to continue this topic.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com.
Are you living your desired lifestyle in your primary residence or your vacation property? Is it time to redefine what living environment works best for you? If you are a couple with a growing family, an empty nester, or just want that getaway property that fulfills a dream, each of those circumstances could mean selling and or buying a property. The Bobbi Decker team can provide you optimized results, either with her San Francisco Bay Area team or working with any of the 750-plus Sotheby's International Realty offices around the world. Bobbi's skills, attention to detail, and level of support for her clients has set her apart in assisting people to optimize results selling their properties or finding the home that meets their needs and desires. For more information or assistance, contact Bobbi at 650-346-5352. Visit her website at www.bobbidecker.com or email bobby.decker@sotheby'srealty.com.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, sitting alongside Bobbi and Buddy as we are rolling through a Friday here. The topic along our series is Living Longer, Living Better, but the topic is fall proofing. And we have an expert on the line, has been kind enough to spend some time with us, Lisa Brinkmann. She's the Executive Director of the Marin Villages, talking about this topic and how really important it is. Lisa, before we continue, if you could, for our listeners, can you give them a website they could potentially go to and get this list and any more information that you have to share?
Sure. We'll have a link on our website, marinvillages.org. That's marinvillages.org, and it'll be under the resource section.
Great.
We'll get that up so anybody can download that this afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Buddy?
It's a very worthwhile list for people to get to. I promise you, it's probably the most extensive I've ever seen. And because Bobbi and I work around a senior community or SRES designation in the real estate industry, I've seen a lot of data in this area, but Lisa's list is sharp, crisp, and very extensive. So, Lisa, maybe give us the top few things that you think are the key things that people should do in and around the home to make it a safer place for them?
Okay, so one of the things that was mentioned was stairs. And stairs, for some people, there's a lot of stairs. For others, they might have one or two. But things about the stairs that are really important, and this theme will go for almost anywhere in your house, is first thing with stairs is make sure that they're adequately lit, that there's good lighting around your stairs if you're coming into your home late at night, if you're going up your stairs within your hallways, that there's good lighting, that you have well-placed and properly installed railings. Grab bars are really important in different sections of your home, in your restrooms, things like that. Another one are outside on your walkway. Make sure that your curbs that they're marked. If you have vision issues, you might want to put a piece of brightly colored tape on the stairs or the curbs so that you could differentiate where those stairs and curbs are. If there's uneven pavement around your house, try to make that easy for you to notice. Bright colors, again, are great. That ties into lighting. Other things in your homes are, most people have rugs. If you have scatter rugs, rugs in your bathroom, make sure that they're adhered firmly to the floor, that they're very secure and they don't slip. Clutter is a big thing, and most people, if they're in their home a long time, they don't realize that they may have clutter. But look out for those cables from your computers, from your phones. Make sure that your things like your phones are easy for you to reach so that you're not stretching, reaching, or climbing when you don't need to.
Well, you make some real serious points there. One thing that we've talked a lot about is downsizing and right-sizing for those folks that can make that move and get into a home that has no stairs and that the curb issues are diminished or eliminated. That is what we've seen an awful lot of, and I have to tell you, in moving people in a downsizing environment, your dialogue about clutter and all the things that they've garnered over the years and everything that's spread out all over the house, some of them seem almost not navigable, and it's setting up the dangers of a possible fall with that kind of clutter around the home, and we've seen it pretty consistently, haven't we, Bobbi?
We have. And one thing, Lisa, that I see them forgetting is that they pile things sky high. They can fall on them.
Right.
Yeah.
So they go, I have a clear pathway. Well, yeah, 7 feet of boxes. Yeah. And if one of them decides to slip out, or if we have a tremor, no one ever wants to say earthquake, but things rattle around here, and you don't want to be under a box.
You know,
Absolutely.
I love your comments about lighting, too, Lisa. Our Association of Realtors has an annual event where we go and help seniors do minor repairs and fix-ups around the home, nothing major. But one of the big ones that we run into are light bulbs. If you've got recessed lighting or you've got sconces that don't easily come off the wall to get to that light bulb, it's amazing how many people just need light bulb fixes in their home. I would say from the ones I've experienced that light bulb replacement was the major obstacle. So your concern about lighting is one that really kind of sticks out to me as one of those issues that can really get in the way. So if you're walking in a dark home and you've got clutter, there's a double whammy.
Double whammy. And can I just mention, too, is for some homes that are older where you don't have the opportunity to install lighting without incurring a large expense, there's some great things that you can buy at the drugstore that actually stick to the wall. They're like night lamps that are battery operated that you can put on your wall that will still provide you that light without having to do any major renovations.
Yeah. One of the things I'm thinking of as we're talking, Lisa, that's come to my mind, and I know maybe it's obvious, but for those out there listening to this podcast, it's important, remember, if you're a child of an elderly parents, grandparents, these things, you're the ones that should be listening to this information, going to our website, gathering the data, taking it to your parents, grandparents, people that you help and you care about, because this kind of stuff, I mean, automatically we think about the senior citizens, you guys, but it's the family members and friends that have to pay attention to this, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Totally.
and visit them in the evening because you'll be shocked at how many lights don't work, won't you, Lisa?
Good point.
Yeah, and often it's because that person can't reach the light.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is they work with a little lamp and use that lamp around their home, which is very, very unsafe.
One thing that I found, and I'm going to just say it real quick because we want to hear a little bit more about the Marin villages from you, but I had clients where don't give them cookies, don't give them candy. You know, for closing gifts, I'll give them an hour or 2 hours with an organizer.
Oh, there you
and
go. Good
see,
idea.
It's not me, it's not their kids saying, Mom, all of your light bulbs
I like
are
that.
out.
That's a great idea.
It is, and it adds, you know, if you can't afford 2 hours, you give them 1 hour. I mean, these are people who utilize my services, so I can go a little above and beyond on that. But it's a wonderful gift.
Oh, that makes great sense.
It does.
Because sometimes when the children try and tell mom or dad something,
Forget
it's like they've shifted off. Now they're the teenager and they rebel against hearing from their children. So that can really make a wonderful difference. And we've seen it several times in some of our clients' situations where Bobbi brought in the folks that we've had on the radio in the past too about how to organize things and make things safe.
So, Lisa, tell the three of us and our listeners a little bit about your Marin Villages and all that you do.
So Marin Villages is a nonprofit 501c3. We're around 7 years old now, and our mission is to help seniors remain independent in their homes and communities. And we do that through a volunteer network. So we recruit local volunteers from the different communities around Marin County, and we answer requests by the seniors. And most of the things that we focus on are the things that you normally would ask a neighbor, a friend, or a family member to give a hand with. But because they may not be available or they may not be around, our volunteers can help those seniors. And our primary focus is to build community so that people in the local towns and cities and such around Marin County begin to have a higher awareness of the needs of our seniors and can lend a hand. We're kind of a on-demand volunteer organization. Volunteers can pretty much decide when and where they want to help and what they want to do. So it's very much a win-win for all. Quickly, the village itself, the village movement, it started around 15 years ago in Boston with just that basic premise of neighbors helping neighbors to figure out how to be able to stay in your own homes as you age. And it's grown to a kind of a grassroots organization of about 200 different villages around the country. So we're very excited about it. And, we do a lot of rides. We give technical support to our seniors, handyman services, pet care, just about anything that you would normally ask a friend, neighbor, or a family member to give a hand with.
Yeah, wonderful. Great overview. Real quickly before we leave too, before we have to check out the website once again, Lisa?
It's marinvillages.org.
marinvillages.org. Thank you so much for spending the time. I mean, this is really, really a lot of important information. I mean, the great thing about this podcast is that it gets distributed thousands of people and all over the place. And it's important because, how often any of our lives have you heard about someone falling, elderly, right? And then all of a sudden their life changes. And you want to say, what? They fell. Yeah. But we don't realize how critical that fall could be. But,
Lisa, thank you for reminding us about lighting, because I'm going to start visiting my clients now. When it gets dark at 5 o'clock, I'm going to visit them at 6.
That's a great idea. And thank you so much for having me. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa. Really appreciate it. We'll have you back later on. Take care, and best to you in 2017.
Thanks. Likewise. Take care.
Yes. Joe Kuchera sitting alongside Buddy and Bobbi as we wrap up the podcast today, Living Better and Living Longer, fall-proofing. Remember, that's a great, great topic. Any more information you need, go to reradiolive.com. Until then, take care of yourself.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.